We are now 287 days away from the midterms with a whole lot of news to cover. This week, the president and Speaker Mike Johnson are headed to Europe. The president is set to speak at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland on Wednesday. And tomorrow, the speaker will address British Parliament to commemorate 250 years of America's independence. Normally, this would be a very warm week of diplomacy between the United States and our closest allies in Europe. But this is not a normal administration. It is clear that Donald Trump's ambitions to somehow acquire Greenland are very serious. And those ambitions have put our relationship with Europe on thin ice. The president told NBC News that he will 100% follow through on his threats to impose new tariffs on goods from European countries that oppose his push for Greenland. When asked if he would use military force, his response, no comment. And it seems that this could all be connected to the president's obsession with, you guessed it, winning the Nobel Peace Prize. The president sent Norway's prime minister a message last night saying he is no longer obligated to think purely of peace because he didn't win the award. He also said the world is not secure unless the U.S. has total control of Greenland. Here at home, the immigration surge and ensuing protests are continuing in Minnesota. MS Now has confirmed that 2 Army airborne battalions have been placed on alert for possible deployment there. That is according to a defense official. That is at least 1,000 active duty soldiers from a division that specializes in cold weather conditions. And the FBI is reportedly asking agents to now travel to Minneapolis for temporary assignments. 2 sources told NBC at this point it is voluntary and there is not a mass surge of FBI agents headed to the city. There remains, however, roughly 3,000 federal immigration officers in that city. I'm going to take a deep breath before we start because that's a whole lot of news, guys. Now let's get smarter with the help of our leadoff panel, and we surely need them tonight. MS Now White House reporter Laura Barron Lopez. Susan Glasser is back with us, staff writer for The New Yorker. Gillian Tett, a columnist and member of the Financial Times editorial board. She joins us live from Davos, Switzerland, where it is 5 a.m., so we are always grateful that she's here, but tonight, extraordinarily grateful. And Michael McFaul, former U.S. ambassador to Russia and now MS Now international affairs analyst. Gillian, because you are up so early for us, set the stage. How would you describe the relationship between the United States and Europe ahead of Trump's visit to Davos?
Well, I'd say that I'm sitting in Davos, where it is indeed 5 a.m. and it's very cold outside. But by golly, does this Davos meeting feel hot? Because unfortunately, what President Trump has said in the last 3 or 4 days has completely dominated the agenda so far. Because for the Europeans who are gathering here, they are extremely nervous. He's thrown down the gauntlet to them. You either need to capitulate over Denmark, over Greenland, or I'm going to impose tariffs. And the question right now for the Europeans is, do they actually have the courage and the strength to come together and to hit back, or are they going to try and appease him yet again? Either way, it's very clear the transatlantic relationship is, if not completely broken, then very, very badly frayed right now.
Susan, you talked to Trump about his desire for Greenland years ago, back in 2021. How does his answer then fit into this moment that we're in now?
Yeah, Steph, we interviewed him in November of 2021 in Mar-a-Lago doing a book on Trump's first term because we had been surprised to hear from senior officials who served in that first term that Trump's interest in Greenland was longstanding, that it was not just the laugh line that had been treated as when it became public in the summer of 2019. When we asked Trump about it in 2021, he said, you know, it's really about maps. I love maps. He treated it like he was a real estate developer. He said, it's massive and we've got to have it. And he said further, it's just not any different than any other kind of a real estate deal. And I do think that you look at what Trump has been saying about this and forget about all the sort of ex post facto efforts of his advisors to put some kind of national security gloss on this, to give it an elaborate rationale. Donald Trump told us the rationale. He said, it's a real estate deal. I want to have it. He wants to rewrite the world map and to put his name on it. This would be the largest land acquisition, since the Louisiana Purchase. It would be something that would give Trump what he wants, which is a very straightforward form of immortality. He said, the New York Times just a week ago, he said, psychologically, I need to own it. And I've talked with senior European officials who believe that for that reason, it's almost impossible to negotiate with Trump here because he doesn't want anything except to own it.
He just wants his name on it. Like, Susan, as you said that, I was having flashbacks of Trump's first term when you had New York City apartment buildings and the residents fighting to get Trump's name literally removed from the side of their buildings. And now here we are. Michael, at the end of last year, someone said to me, a high-level source said to me, who won 2025? Trump's personal fortune and Russia. Then I saw BBC reporting that Russia is gloating over this Greenland fight. While Trump is saying that the U.S. doesn't take over Greenland, if they don't, Russia's going to. Does this make sense?
This is the worst foreign policy idea in my lifetime, and I teach American foreign policy here at Stanford. I think it's the worst idea in the 250-year history of our country.
Why?
So maybe Mr. Trump wants to put his name on it. That's fine. He can have his vanity projects. He just shouldn't do it as the president of the United States. We do not need to annex Greenland to protect ourselves from Russia and China. To the best of my knowledge, talking with very senior government officials from the previous administration, there is no evidence whatsoever that they have plans to annex Greenland. Are you kidding me? This is a joke. If we want to put our missiles there to defend our territory and build his dome, we can do that. We have missiles, by the way, in Poland and Romania and radars to do that. We have the Fifth Fleet in Bahrain without annexing it to provide deterrence in the Middle East. We have the Seventh Fleet in Japan to provide deterrence against China without annexing the territory. There is no strategic rationale for this. This is a vanity project for Mr. Trump, not President Trump. And all Europeans, I hope, will resist this, because instead of debating Ukraine, which is a real threat that Russia is posing in Davos, they're going to all be talking about this. And I hope that will then embolden rational Republicans and Democrats in our Congress, in our society, to say, this is ridiculous. We're not going to let it stand. And if, God forbid, he produces this outcome, the next president of the United States, the candidates running in 2028, should pledge that they'll give it back. Because we are under no obligation just to keep it as a fait accompli. There's too much fatalism with Trump. This is a bad idea, and we all need to be resisting it.
Laura, Donald Trump, we've seen behave over and over in sort of that bully style. He talks a really tough game from afar, and then when he's face to face, he gets a lot sweeter, he gets a lot softer. He's about to deliver this message in Davos on Wednesday, surrounded by all of these world leaders. What are we expecting to hear?
Well, I think that these world leaders are on edge. I mean, that's what I'm hearing from Senator Chris Coons, who is there on the ground right now, the Democratic senator from Delaware. I just spoke to him earlier today, and he said that these European leaders, the Nordic country leaders, are dumbfounded. They are alarmed. There's widespread apprehension. And so they're really eager to talk to the president. They're eager to see if there is any pathway forward to walk him away and have him walk back all of these aggressive threats. But the issue is that he keeps escalating them. He's escalated them over the weekend. He escalated them today. And those around him, including his top advisors like Stephen Miller, seem to be pushing this as well, right? This idea that the U.S. has some kind of right to expand its territory, to expand its land, and demand that they need Greenland. But again, to Ambassador McFaul's point, Chris Coons was saying, the senator was saying just to me earlier today, that the Danes are really flummoxed. They don't understand, because for a year now, they have been telling the U.S., they've been telling the president that if you want to put more military assets on the ground in Greenland, or if you want some access to critical minerals, the U.S. can have all of that. That can be done. And despite the fact the president and his team continue to say that that's not good enough, that they want Greenland itself. And so
he doesn't need to buy the cow.
Remains to be seen.
He's getting the milk for free.
Well, he wants the cow stuff. but he wants it all, and there's no sign that he's going to back off of this. I know that, as you said, to your point, he does act differently when he's in the presence of other European leaders, but I don't know that that's going to necessarily change anything here, given the direction that the White House is heading in, and that even when they were asked today, we pressed them asking repeatedly about this text that the president sent to the Norwegian prime minister saying that he deserved Greenland, and that this was also, he was upset about not being awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, and that was part of the reason that he wanted to go after Greenland. The White House, again, didn't back down, instead saying that that the president is going to, one way or another, acquire Greenland.
Well, he's justifying these new tariffs that are related to Greenland, saying he has to do it because it's a national emergency. And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent was asked about it on Meet the Press, and I must share his response.
What is the national emergency that justifies these new slate of tariffs?
The national emergency is avoiding a national emergency. That it is a strategic decision by the president. This is a geopolitical decision, and he is able to use the economic might of the U.S. to avoid a hot war.
Okay, so declaring a national emergency to prevent a national emergency, is that the logic, Ambassador?
It's completely illogical. And just because you call it strategic and geopolitical, it makes no sense. And I'm sure the secretary knows it makes no sense. What this will result in is tension, if not the end of NATO. What this will result in is no country wanting to ever work with us in the long term again. It's not in America's national security interest. Now, Trump may want to make Greenland Trumpland, but he's the president of the United States right now. He is not doing real estate deals. And I really hope that when he gets to Davos, our European allies will push back on him, because it's very clear, the pattern. If you try to capitulate, appease Trump, he just keeps taking. The Chinese, Xi Jinping, had a different strategy. He played the game of chicken with Trump, and he backed down. That is what we need from our European allies. And when I say we, I mean the vast majority of Americans. By 80% to 20%, Americans don't like this idea. And therefore, that, I think, gives leverage if we stand against this idiotic idea, which is just a vanity project, just like the ballroom, has nothing to do with American national security. But moving forward with it will do real damage to our long-term national security in Europe and I think all around the world.